Right, this is a lovely project and I think it's just super sweet and a little bit different. So if you want real wow projects to send to your favourite people, because we all do that, don't we? We send our really nice cards to our favourite people, and the ones that we know aren't going to just throw it in a bin. That's what I do. This is absolutely one of those. So it's a lovely 8x8 card blank and it's got the detail of this gold bauble is absolutely exquisite and very, very tattered lace. But then you've got this little scene behind, like it's just turning, you know, you're just moving one bauble and it reveals the scene behind. So we're going to do this one. So let's bring in and get ready our card base. So I've got my card base, making sure that it's open in the right way around. And then we have cut out the bauble detail again from a piece of the gold cardstock, which is just lovely. And that's just so that we aren't wasting our card, so we can then position that over the top. Okay, now I wouldn't cut much more out because when you cut something out of a piece of card, it obviously weakens it. So I wouldn't do too much more cutting out here because you still want that stability to the card. And then we've just put a really narrow 3D foam at the back just to lift it a little bit. So even, you know, if you are posting these and you want them to be quite flat, you can still use foam tape, but just use a slightly narrower one from top to bottom, so a 1mm one rather than a 3mm one. And just think about your layers as you're doing that. And you don't need to take all the foam tape off. Some of it is just there for support. And then I'm going to, again, hover. So I'm looking at my top and side edges and then positioning that down there. And I'm trying to get it straight. And that's why I don't press it down immediately, because I need it to be straight. Otherwise, I will lose sleep over it, because I'm not good at wonky, even purposely. And then we have got our finger lift tape on the back of here. So we're going to take this off. Now, trick with finger lift tape, I was teaching this to Alice the other day with her finger lift tape, is to burnish it down and then it will lift, because it separates the backing from the tape. So just a little bit of a burnish makes a big difference. So I'm going to pop that onto there again, just making sure that all I'm nice and straight. That's good, got that bit right, that's a bonus. And then I'm going to put this panel in. So this is just a panel of the gold with a piece of the pattern from the backing paper just cut down on top, and all those instructions will be in your magazine, of course, so it'll give you all the measurements that you need. No guesswork. And then you can have it that way or you can have it that way. So I'm going to position this, and now I'm looking at the top, I'm looking at the side and just making sure that I've got an even border all the way down there. Right, so let's do our gold bauble first of all. So for this one, we have got the base bauble like that. Then we've got the complete one. So we've just used that very tiny scallop die to cut it out as a whole piece. And that's going to sit on top of there. So let's stick that down first. Oh, it's already tape on. So, get that off there. This is why I like using a wet glue. One, it's quicker, and two, I'm not messing about taking backing off. Like that. It's what you get used to, you know. Everybody likes things slightly different, and that's absolutely fine. So we're going to make sure, so I'm just putting this bauble so it's straight on my glass mat, lining the bottom up to one of the lines, and then I'm just going to position this over the top of there like that. And then I have a second one where all these little pieces have been popped out, and again we've just put a narrow foam tape. And when I say narrow, I'm talking about the depth of the foam. Okay, not the width of it, but the actual depth of it. And I'm not going to take all this off. I'm just going to take a few off. the rest will just give me that lift and raise. So again, I'm lining up with the donkey this time and the snow that is on the top of that stable door, because if I get that straight, everything else should slot into place. There we go. It's not bad. Right, and then you could do, if you wanted to, you could go in and you could cut another one and cut the little cat out and then cut the donkey out and 3D that on as well. But because we've got a lot of other stuff going on here, I'm just going to position that onto there, because we don't want it too much on a card. Otherwise, the eye doesn't know where to look. It doesn't know where to stop. And you're constantly looking, thinking, right, what am I looking at first? We're going to do a lot more education on things like layout and line and design, not just with the Tattered Lace magazine, but with lots of different products as well, because it's nice to, like little mini online classes, aren't they, which is nice. And between Stephanie and I, we've got a lot of experience and knowledge over the 30 odd years that we want to share. Because there's no point knowing something if you can't share it with anybody. That's boring. Right, so I'm going to pop that onto there. Right, so we've got that on there. Now you could stop there. So you could bring this in and you could put your Merry Christmas up there, and you could bring in maybe your little swag again like that. And that could be your Christmas card for this year. But we're going to bring in this other bauble because that's what we've done in the magazine. So got the green version this time, and it's got the foam on the back, and then we've got the gold one here, and the detail on this is just exquisite. I mean, it's just lovely. And that, I mean, I love my scan and cut and I love my SVG cutting files, but on dies like this, it really becomes prominent. That lacy detail really pops out. So even though I own a scan and cut and I get the USBs, sometimes I still buy dies like this, just because you get that fabulous beveled edge, and it really is just stunningly beautiful. Really is. So I think, you know, a bit of everything is always good. So I'm going to pop that on there, and this time I'm lining up the top of the bauble, because I know that if that's level, everything else will just pop in place. And I've used a wet glue so that I have that wiggle time to just be able to move that. And I used very little glue because I don't want it to squidge out, and that's enough then to put that bauble onto here. Now what we've done with the foam tape at the back, because this is already raised slightly, we haven't put any at the bottom, and we've put 2 pieces at the top, and we've used a wider one. And I'm going to make this bauble come out a little bit further so you can see a little bit more of the donkey and the cat underneath there. Okay, so you decide where you want it, and then we stick that in place. Now you could actually put a brad through this. I'm just going to put a little bit of wet glue on top of this foam tape just to give me a little bit of wiggle room before I stick it down. You could put a brad through these 2 little hangers and through the layer of this white card, and have it so that it actually swings on a brad, so it actually moves. That's another idea that you could use. So that bauble will then come over here, and then it will move around. But again, I'm going to be good. I'm going to try and stick to what they've done. No, I'm not. I'm going to move that onto the side as well. I can't do it. I can't do it. And you know what's funny? It's Stephanie's exactly the same. So we'll be like, right, what demos do you want prepping? And she's like, no, I can't do that. And I can't do it. It bothers me. Not because I don't want anybody else prepping my demos, but just because I like to think about, when I'm doing a demo, I like to think about what I'm teaching you. And if somebody else has done it, you can't always think about that. So we're both exactly the same, which is quite funny. And then you put your personality into it. Now I do like it like that. I think it works, but it covers over the donkey's face a little bit too much for me. So I'm going to position it a little bit further over. And then I'm going to bring this round a little bit more. And I'm almost going to get it to come down here. So it's coming from the bauble there. And because, right, so let me let me teach you this. So we've got a circle in a bauble and we've got a square. So a circle and a square will work together, and an oval and a rectangle will work together because the dimensions are similar. So an oval is taller than it is wider, as is a rectangle, and then a circle and a square. So what I'm going to do is that because I've got this circle on a rectangle on a square, I'm going to balance it out. So the way that I do that is by extending this. Now I could extend it like that, and that works, but it's better if I bring that curve down, because this part is the rectangular part. So if I just pull that down a little bit more, not a lot, and you know what? Probably won't even realise why it looks right, just that it does look right. It's just because you're extending that down a little bit more. And it also takes away this piece here, which would be blank space. So it just extends that design down. So have a play around with it. Think about the shapes that you're using and work within those shapes, okay? And follow it and use that shape to balance out your project. Like that, okay? And then I could have, I don't know if I even need a little bit down there. It's quite nice though. I could have a little bit down there. I think I'm going to do that. These are just the decoupage layers, you know? So even though it's been designed as decoupage, it works independently because it's been thought through and because it's been designed by a crafter. And we get it. So it's not by accident, it's all done purposefully. And then I'm just going to extend that corner around just by adding these little leaves under here, like that. And then I might add another little leaf, just a single leaf that you think, oh, is it worth it? Yeah, it is. Look, just brings that little bit of light green from down here up there and balances that a little bit better, I think. And then we've got our Merry Christmas, which we've just printed off. Now that could go there, or it could go up here like that. I actually prefer it up there. I think it balances better. And it brings a little bit of the dark from round here up here with the black print. And I'm going to lift that up so that it just covers over, and I'm going to bring it slightly over the edge. So rather than lining it up straight, I'm just going to bring it out slightly further, because this comes out slightly further, that comes out slightly further, and that does. So it just balances the whole thing. So we then have, if I bring in the original one there, so you can see that one, and then that one there, and it looks completely different. Even though the basics of it are exactly the same, it looks completely different. It's just balancing this side here, balancing that corner. So whichever you prefer, or play around and do your own thing as well. I think that's another beautiful Christmas card that a friend or family member is going to be absolutely delighted with.